The forest of Erendral had always been a place of whispers, where the wind carried voices that no man could quite understand, and shadows moved with a will of their own. Villagers avoided its borders, muttering prayers whenever the mist rolled down from its dark canopy. Children were warned never to wander too far, lest they become part of the forest's legends. Among these tales, one story lingered above the rest, the tale of the Chivari, the Deer Men. I am your host, and this is our channel. Join us today as we look at the terrifying tale of the Chivari. Part 1. The First Sight. It began, like most stories do, with a simple sighting. A young hunter named Kellen was the first in a generation to claim he had seen one. He returned from the river trembling, his bow clutched tightly, his words broken by fear. It was standing in the water. He stammered. Taller than any stag. Its head was crowned with antlers, but its body was wrong. It had arms, human arms, long and thin, like branches, ending in fingers sharp as claws. And it watched me. Saints preserve me, it watched me like a man would. The elders scoffed at him, calling it a trick of exhaustion or fevered imagination. Yet others whispered, remembering old tales their grandparents once told, that the Chivari were guardians of the forest, neither beast nor man, cursed to walk between worlds. Part 2. The Bones. Years later, as loggers pushed deeper into Erendral, they found strange remains. Not quite animal, not quite human. A ribcage like a deer's, but a spine too upright and arms too long. Some bones bore antlers fused to skulls in impossible ways. The remains were taken to the keep of Lord Eltharion, who summoned scholars from distant cities. The scholars debated endlessly. Misaligned fossils, one claimed. An extinct creature of the wilds, argued another. But there were others, pale of face, who said nothing at all, for they had seen the carvings in forgotten temples, depictions of man merging with stag, worshipped as gods or feared as demons. Part 3. The Return. One autumn dusk, with the mist heavy on the river, the Chivari revealed themselves again. Not in bone, not in whispers, but in flesh. A farmer's son vanished near the reeds, only for his body to be found days later, hanging in the trees. His chest had been split open, ribs bent outward like broken wings. Strange symbols carved into his flesh glowed faintly in moonlight. Tracks led to the water's edge, where hoofprints and human footprints merged as one. After that, sightings spread. Hunters claimed to see towering stag-headed figures at twilight, their eyes glowing faintly amber, their bodies covered in patches of fur and sinew stretched to thin. Some claimed they moved silently. Others swore they heard the sound of branches creaking as they walked. The bravest or the most foolish spoke of hearing them whisper in broken human voices. Words carried on the rustle of leaves. Part 4. The Forbidden Truth. An old priestess, Isaria, revealed what the villagers feared to admit. She told of a time before kings, before the rise of stone cities, when men lived as guests of the forest. The people had made pacts with the spirits of nature, binding themselves in rituals of blood and bone. The strongest hunters offered their bodies to the stag gods, merging man and beast, creating the Chivari to guard the sacred groves. But men grew greedy. They betrayed the pact, severing themselves from the wilds and enslaving the very creatures they had once worshipped. In rage, the Chivari cursed mankind, retreating into the deepest shadows of Erendral. They are not gone, Isaria whispered. They wait. And when men trespass too far, the guardians return. Part 5. Kellen's Journey. Now a grown man, Kellen could never forget that day by the river. The vision haunted him, the Chivari standing half submerged in water, watching, patient as death. His dreams were filled with antlers scraping the sky and voices calling him deeper into the woods. Determined to end the torment, he gathered his weapons and set out to find the creature once more. He ventured past the river, past the clearings, into the heart of Erendral where even birds refused to sing. There, among twisted trees, he found bones. Not just one, but dozens, littering the mossy ground, half human, half deer skeletons. Their rib cages twisted, their skulls crowned with antlers that pierced the soil. Some appeared to have died in agony, frozen mid-transformation, their skeletons bent unnaturally. As Kellen knelt, he realized with dread that the bones weren't ancient. They were fresh. Part 6. The Awakening. Night fell quickly in Erendral. The mist thickened, wrapping the world in silence. Then came the sound, branches cracking, water stirring. Kellen rose, sword drawn, his breath sharp in his chest. From the shadows, they emerged. Not one, but many. Their bodies loomed tall, their legs jointed like deer, yet their torsos twisted into mockeries of men. Their antlers tangled with moss, their faces long and skeletal, their eyes glowing like embers. One stepped forward, its hand gnarled yet human, pointing at him. "Return," it hissed in a voice like rustling leaves. "Return what was stolen." Kellen's blood ran cold. Part 7. The Curse. The Chivari surrounded him. He fought, blade flashing, cutting through sinew and bone. Yet for every creature he struck down, another rose. They did not bleed as men did. Their wounds closed like bark sealing over a wound in a tree. Finally, one seized him, its grip like iron roots. Another pressed its hand to his chest. He felt something burn inside him, as though his very soul were being dragged out. Visions filled his mind, the old packs, the rituals, the betrayal. He saw hunters binding themselves with antlers, offering their hearts to the forest gods. He saw the moment of corruption when man turned beast not by blessing, but by curse. And then he understood. The Chivari were not guardians. They were prisoners, and he, by setting foot where no man was welcome, had awakened them. Part 8. The Final Transformation. Kellen screamed as pain tore through him. His bones cracked, his spine bent. Antlers sprouted from his skull, splitting skin. His arms elongated, fingers curling into claws. His legs twisted, hooves striking the ground. The Chivari released him, stepping back as one of their own took shape before them. His sword clattered to the ground, useless now. His eyes glowed amber. His voice, once human, was lost to a chorus of whispers carried on the wind. The transformation was complete. Kellen was no longer a man. He was Chivari. Epilogue. The villagers never saw Kellen again. But in the months that followed, strange figures were spotted near the river, antlers breaking the mist, eyes burning like coals. Those who dared venture too close never returned. Deep in the forest, among the skeletal remains of his predecessors, Kellen stood tall, antlers brushing the canopy. The Chivari had grown stronger, their numbers reborn, and the forest of Erendral, once whispered about in fear, became a place no man dared enter. For the guardians had awakened, and their vengeance had only just begun. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this terrifying tale. If you want to hear more stories like this one, be sure to stay tuned for new episodes every week. And if you want to support our channel, please consider supporting us. Until next time, don't forget, there are no shakers in the river.